pleasure to have my mom with me here today. She's an active Republican and been involved in politics I've been involved in politics of some sort for 30 years. I'm married, I have 4 children. I have a small electrical contracting business that I've had for 30 years. There's so many issues here that I'm going to try to run through them. Jim did a great job and brought a lot of those out, and I appreciate that. As a businessman, I get a certain perspective. I've been through some of the trials, and this is a great group of women. Now, I've been at the birthing of 4 kids, and I can tell you a little bit about that, but it'd be a little bit silly for me to tell you what having a child's like. Business is kind of like that sometimes, until you've been the one that has had to borrow money, miss your paycheck, deal with the state, have employees standing by because agencies aren't doing what they could, go through those kind of frustrations. You really don't understand what business is like. And what that brings me is, I have some core values that are pretty deeply rooted, that are rooted in trials and struggles and tears and frustration and joys as well. But when we talk about economic development and those things, there's some key things that I understand pretty well. I understand what happens when we have illegals that are coming in and they're taking our jobs, and if you believe in the law of supply and demand, you have to accept that they're driving down our wages. Now, Sherry Appleson has said that they're actually driving up our wages, although taking jobs in construction, so I don't know how she gets there, but we have to begin to address that problem. These are good people. I see them on the job consistently. I'm always kind. It's not my place in that forum to make an issue. We work with them and do what we can, but we have to address the issue of illegals. We have to stop giving them licenses. We have to penalize companies that willfully hire those, pay under the table, and do those kind of things, and hurt all of us. Work with the Department of Labor all the time. This is like a 60-cent outlet. The Department of Labor has just approved the 2014 code, and it's just a piece of what government does to us when it hurts us. If you have a house that's older than about 10 years, and I come out as an electrician and this has failed, and it's a fairly common problem. You know, we see 10 a year or so. Anymore, they have this new outlet that's supposed to go in that's $30. Now, in order for me to change that out now, I have to have a permit. So what would be an $81 service call maybe? It's probably going to be $180 now by the time you do the special outlet and everything else. And the question is, on all of these things, is why? Where is the data to show that we're saving lives, that we're saving properties? I'm not opposed to every regulation, but they have to have some reason. They have to have some data, not just, you'll feel safer when this is done. Are you going to feel safer? It's for the children, whatever it may be. We have to get beyond solutions and say, this is real data. As an electrician, we have businesses. I work with a business coming in out of California. Nice business, kind of want, I won't use their name, but they're bringing 20 or 30 jobs into our county. The problem is they have old equipment. Old equipment wasn't licensed, it wasn't approved the way that things are now, and often the old equipment is better than the new. It's made better, at least from what I'm told. So this business, we want to encourage business into our state and county, but at the same time, we're charging them tens of thousands of dollars to re-hook up what they already hooked up in California. And you have to say, okay, again, why? We have insurance, we have things that can protect us that are beyond the Department of Labor. Have another business, similar kind of thing where they said, Scott, I love your work, we want to have you do some more, but it costs us too much because you get permits on it. And when the department comes in, they find things wrong with this old equipment. And it was engineered and it's been working for 40, 50 years. But these are just a couple little things of how do we hurt people, and ultimately it's taking away the freedom. It's taking away jobs. It's making people not want to come here. We have an international economy. We have a national economy. We can see with Boeing, companies will go where they serve best. I'd like to talk about safety a little bit. Government Inslee came out and said, we're not going to execute anybody anymore. And that's taking someone's life, for whatever reasons, a serious thing. But at some point, in my opinion, those violent offenders, those murderers, those rapists, need a speedy trial, and when convicted, they need to be executed. We need to stop letting them come out again. I don't know if anybody else saw it in the paper here. About a week ago, we had a drunk driver. He'd killed a young, I believe it was a teacher, 3 years ago up on Clear Creek. So he was 2.5 times the drunk level. He's put, I think, 27 months in prison. He was out again, got caught drinking and driving again, no license. Actually, he was using his brother's license who had passed away. At some point, we have to take these people that are getting 4, 5, 6, I saw one last year, 13 DUIs, and we have to put them away in some form. When they commit a crime, especially after multiple offenses, what's the difference between that and murder? I just don't see it. We have to begin to say, we need a safe society, criminals need a fair trial, there needs to be a path where they can come back into society. There may need to be training, some things. We want to see them succeed, we want to see them self-sustaining, but what we're doing is not working. We're allowing too many people that are dangerous and don't belong in our midst. So public safety is important to me. There's so many things here that, Jim hit the ferries. You know, we built ferries brand new that list and paid twice what we should. Makes no sense. I won't go too much more into that. I don't know if you saw about a year ago where we had the overpass in Tacoma. They built the overpass where it was 6 feet out of alignment, continued to build it until it was done. And nobody said at some point, let's not build it, let's not pay to have it tore down and then rebuild it. We need to find the engineers, the state, we need to find the engineers when the private firms that did that and said, you're going to fix that, you're going to fix it for free, or you're not doing any more state work. And begin to put some pressure on these people to say, we wasted millions of dollars doing this. Just a little piece. Outside my house the other day, I live near a state highway, there are 3 people washing a speed limit sign. Well off the road, big truck, it wasn't quite a dump truck, but a real big truck. One guy's holding a squeegee or something, one guy's got a sprayer, and one guy's got a clipboard. And I'm just thinking, when we talk about reform, when we talk about audits doing better, we have to look at some of these things. How do other states do it better? Jim touched on prevailing wage. It's not really prevailing wage, it's union wages. It's really about twice what prevailing wage is I see in my industry. And there's a cause for some jobs to be paid more, but in our schools, in our roads, should we really pay this premium? I don't believe it's necessary. Huge issue, federal issue, and it's not going to change it easily. We don't talk much about natives, native issues around here. We really should. And one thing I would like to do is separate in our minds 2 things. The great things about native culture, their art, their family, the things that they do. There's some really neat things about the native culture that we should all embrace, and their areas. But there's a corporate side. You have the native culture that's great, the people great, we want to treat them kindly, I have them as my friend, and we have native corporations. They are not any different than any other corporation. Their job is to bring profits back to the shareholders who are the members. And unfortunately, they get all kinds of benefits, even off the tribal areas, so that it hurts all of us. Right now, I don't know if you know, we're 25 cents on the of the taxes spent per gallon on tribal stations goes to them, and they get to kind of choose how that's spent on the tribe, and it really doesn't have the accountability. The problem is, if you're going down 305 and you have to stop at the tribal station, I'd like to see that gas go to state highways and the things we do, not to tribal projects that are really just, we're passing through. So it's just not right. I would hate to be in a business where we have one business here that doesn't pay property tax, one business that gets 25 cents on the dollar to go back to them, and one business that doesn't. I just, you know, I wouldn't say I never do, but I avoid it because I'm in business and I think it's unfair competition. I'm on the North Kitsap School Board. I'd say that, you know, you hear a lot of bad things about education. We have some people that are working very hard. We have some terrific teachers. I won't go too much, but I've seen some really great stories about teachers that are going beyond the call and doing the best they can to help our kids. I'll give you just a quick one. My son's graduating last year, putting out job applications, and his career counselor has helped him with some of this. And now, I would almost always say, don't call anybody past 9. Well, somehow he had the teacher's number, and he called him at 11 o'clock, wanting some help on the application. Wrong thing to do, Josh. But the teacher, instead of chiding him, says, okay, Josh, how can I help you? And he helps him through the process on the application. And then he says, Josh, I'm going to put my phone by my bed, and if you have any other problems, call me and I'll answer it tonight. Now, is that a great teacher? Is that the kind of ones that we want to say, go get them? This is awesome. And we have more like that. So when we look at education and teachers, teachers unions are different things. I don't know how you get these awesome teachers and then get a teachers union, but we do have some awesome things going on in North Kitsap, trying to raise kids' education, prepare them for the next step in life, whether it's college or career. There are funding issues. McCleary's coming up. Money is not the only answer. We need to define basic education. We need to take levy dollars that are now spent and use them in the ways we choose, not on teacher salary. Teachers need to be fairly paid, and I think realistically they are underpaid if you only take state salaries. And in our district, about 20 or 50% of levy almost goes to additional teacher salaries or benefits. So we need to keep good teachers. We need to get rid of the ones that aren't performing. If you have a third grade class that's got a teacher that's not performing well, it sets kids back for years. We need to deal with those kind of things. We need to look at priorities. We need to look at mandates that we put on school districts that take their staff time that really doesn't help the classroom, but things that we have to complete. We need to look at the mandates that we're imposing on schools. It's just not right. I believe in local control. If I'm, as a school board member, not doing my job, get rid of me, protest me, do something. But local control in most all of our things, except military, is where I would head. I've got a little book that I've kind of been my campaign flyer, The Red Hen. It's a little bit insulting to some people, but the basic premise is you don't have a right to the bread unless you help along the way of planting, of watering, of cooking, harvesting, all of those things. I'm afraid that we have too many people in our society that expect that they can live off our system. We should have a safety net, and it shouldn't be a hammock. We have too many people, and maybe you know some in your life, that are willing to take that system. They all seem to be able to reproduce all right. You know, that part of them, it seems to work fine, but when it comes to getting up and going to work in the morning, they just don't seem to be able to do that. They need education, they need help, but they also, there's two sides to that story. If you don't do what's right, and especially as a guy, if you're not taking care of your family, you've got no right to state income, unless you're really, truly disabled in some kind of way. At some point, I love to see McDonald's where they have a special needs person there working. They're doing the best they can. I mean, I just love seeing that. And we should all take that attitude, but the other side of that is we got to begin to say, you know, we've tried helping you, we've gave you schooling, we've gave you counseling, we've gave you drug addiction, interventions, all these kind of things, but at some point, we have to say, you're not getting state money if you're not working. Everybody has to contribute. Now that's the hard thing, and how do you reach that middle ground? Well, it's going to be hard, but that would be the direction I would head. You know, if you're not working, and especially, I'm not going to talk so much about women, but I hate to see guys that aren't doing their job, aren't taking care of their families and everything else, but they want to have kids. It's just so wrong. These campaigns are tough. Bainbridge Island, we had about 41%, just a little under in our primary. If we took Bainbridge Island out and part of East Bremerton and the Manette area, we'd actually do pretty good. If you have any good road frontage in Bainbridge Island, any highway areas, if you have any ideas to say, Scott, here's a way to connect with some of the Bainbridge people. I know that there's a lot of great folks out here. I work out here a fair amount, but at some point, I don't know where I'm not connecting with them, and whether they just have to pull the D lever or not, I don't know. Same way in East Bremerton, I think if I could talk to these people individually, you can on some level, but there's just too big a scope there. But we're certainly looking for ideas, you know, thinking about, okay, what can we do with the ferries, some of these kind of issues. I know a lot of these people are in business. I don't know that they don't see the impacts of the decisions on the state, but I think that kind of wraps it up here, and I appreciate you having me come out and probably go on some of these things. I think my time's probably. So, thank you.